All right. This is the EA press conference has just ended. These are my immediate thoughts, and I'm gonna start at the end. So, like, I am like, is because of whatever that thing that was supposed to be an Anthem presentation was. I'm gonna start there, even though that was the end of the conference, because, or the press event or the fan event or whatever the fuck EA is calling this travesty. That Anthem presentation was not ready for prime time. There have been rumors for a while now that the game is a flaming bag of dog shit right now, and everything spoke to that. The font for the HUD looks like a placeholder. It just looks like Verdana or something like that. It was halfway between Verdana and Impact. It looks like a placeholder font. The sounds sound like recycled assets from Mass Effect and a few other BioWare. They just dove into the BioWare sound catalog and put shit in because it's just placeholder sound. The mix on the voiceovers, first of all, the voiceovers were kind of clunky, but the mix was off too, which gave it that weird sort of artificial feeling. And the animation was janky. Did you notice that when the whatever they call them, Titans or whatever, I'm confusing it with Titanfall. When they're flying, it was like it was stuttering, like there was this weird downgrade. It doesn't even make sense why there'd be a jump like that with modern gaming animation, but it did somehow. It did not seem good. And right when I'm like, oh, cool monster, it looked like a pair of boobs with a bunch of spikes on it, I'm like, oh, cool cut, stop. Before that, we got yakking from the developers, which would have been cool if it was actually like not softballs, but it wasn't. And it was, oh, we're gonna do the same story style pitch that we did for the Old Republic. Bad sign. We're gonna talk about it instead of showing it like Andromeda. Bad sign. And then the stuff we are gonna show seems like a complete Destiny clone, right down to the little like character class faction glyphs that are straight out of Destiny. It just, my issue with Anthem from the beginning is that, say what you want about Mass Effect, say what you want about Dragon Age, like them, don't like them, even though they were definite homages to a bunch of science fiction things. Like Mass Effect is sort of a mix of like Babylon 5, Star Wars, a lot of Dune thrown in, a bunch of different sci-fi properties that they've borrowed from. They still had original designs. It still felt like their own world, like it was new and fresh. And I mean, everybody's stolen the Quarian designs for TV and stuff like that. Dragon Age was the same way. Most of the concepts were borrowed, but they had just enough that felt fresh and original and new that you could get lost in the world. Anthem has none of that. Nothing appears original in this game. It really seems like decisions made by EA corporate, by the money people, saying you have to have this and you have to have this and you have to have this and you have to have this. And it doesn't seem like they have a lot of freedom to make anything original or really worth buying. I don't see the point of buying Anthem when you can play Destiny or you can play The Division, or The Division's nothing alike, but you know what, a similar play experience sort of thing. And people are, what do you mean? It's sort of the feeling of it, if that makes any sense. But I don't want to linger on Anthem too much because I don't want to be too rough. I was really freaking brutal on the host in tweets, and I want to clarify that. There is nothing wrong with a gamer girl Barbie who likes pink and all that stuff. She, whatever her name is, Andrea something, that's what she likes. Awesome. But the scripting and the oh my god, everything's so great, wow, that's so cool, like that is what EA decided to put forward in terms of we're gonna show we support girl gamers. Oh my god, I can't wait to make my suit pink. Alienated. Totally alienated. First of all, you can have Gamer Girl Barbie up there all you want, but if you're showing freaking sports games and robots and RTS games, these are all, and shooters, these are all genres that have fairly low female participation. If you want to appeal to women, you gotta get, you know, those exploration and story-driven pillars in there. You have to have a type of game that women actually want to play. And I get that there are a lot of female shooter players out there, yes, just because there's a lot of shooter players in general. But if you actually look at the statistical breakdowns, these are not the sorts of games that women tend to make up a large percentage of the player bases. And what's odd is they had a huge opportunity to do that with their mobile section, and they showed that shitting into the mouth of the corpse of the Command and Conquer franchise. Like, what did they do? First of all, that presentation was boring as watching paint dry. But Command and Conquer? What? I don't think I need to say more about that. I do want to say that this EA keeps trying to embrace this esports thing. And when you're at an esports event and the lights are all going and everybody's cheering and it's sort of a group dynamic, it kind of works. There isn't a ton of focus on the players themselves. It's the game. When EA tries to do a sports type thing with these esport guys, it does not work because they do the big ramp up and now here's Nick at Night, and a guy comes out, hey guys, and it's just a complete like, oh, it doesn't work. It feels like kids playing wrestling in their backyard. It does not feel like a main event. It falls completely flat. And even with the announcer on the Command and Conquer thing, he couldn't make it exciting. I was tuning out. Like, the announcer calls your attention to stuff when stuff's really exciting. This was, the screen didn't move. The map's this big. You have two towers. It's like that old you remember that old kind of boxing game where it was just like Rock'em Sock'em Robots? That's what it looked like to me. Like, is this 1982? I know that's harsh, but it's a Command and Conquer game. Only, no, it's not. You know, this ain't Halo Wars. There was a reason to make Halo a turn-based a real-time strategy game. It started off its life as a strategy game, so the sort of thing was always there. Command and Conquer is this big vast experience. It's not a mobile game. Enough on that. I'm trying not to get too I'm trying not to beat the crap out of anything too much. I don't want this video to be that long. Battlefield showed us nothing new. Nothing new. And the big mistake there was they came out and they're like, we've heard you. You want to see more gameplay. You want to see explanations of how things work. You can break windows and move turrets. And we're not going to give you anything new. We're going to show you more trailers. Now, they have the opportunity to recover from that at the Xbox press conference, and they alluded to that. So I'm going to hold my fire on Battlefield for now because of that. Because they're probably going to show something at Xbox. They might show something at PlayStation. There is still hope. I'm trying to be nice. Cloud gaming, they talked about that whole business angle with the cloud gaming and the disruptive tech and all. You don't do that at a fan conference. For your shareholders, fine. If you're doing an investor meeting, all that language is perfectly fine. But when you're doing a straight to the fans event, which is the whole purpose of EA pulling out of E3 proper and just doing their own ticketed fan event, like right outside the convention center, it better be a fan event. And you don't use terms like that at a fan event. That was off message. It was off tone. as was the stuff about charities. People play games to have fun, not necessarily be good people. And I get that EA has that sort of social justice strategy. Make that a pregame show. Do that stuff while people are waiting. Then people feel like it's added value. Okay, fine. You start feeling good about yourself. That's great. Do not take up time. That conference could have been half an hour shorter if they cut out all the unnecessary garbage from it. And it really did feel long. Now, EA is going to be fine just because of those Madden and FIFA franchises that, as much as the demonstrations for them bore me to tears, they sell very, very well. So they should fly the flag. Their sports games do very, very well for them. So FIFA didn't look so great. Madden looked good. I wish they'd done a bit more on their direction for NBA Live 19, because I'm like, there's some interesting stuff here. At least it intrigued me. I mean, basketball was a sport I played, so I'm sort of more pulled towards that. Though back in the day, I liked playing the old Activision football and baseball games. So I'm still kind of, but that sports games are their own thing. Again, heavily male. So who are they appealing to with a female host? Are they giving the guys something cute to look at? Is she supposed to be a cheerleader? Or is she supposed to try to bring women in? I think they kind of failed on both counts. Although she was cute. Like, she's pretty. Something to look at, I guess. But I didn't understand what they were going for there. I didn't understand it last year either. It's the same kind of hot mess feeling. Only last year, EA actually had some stuff to show. This year felt very weak. Cloud gaming and subscriptions. Didn't Sony try streaming games on the PS3 and it didn't really work so well? I remember demoing that. Older games that were just, I forget the name of the service, but yeah, it was part of like your PlayStation Plus membership. So I'm not sure why they're treating this as some sort of big innovation. Sony's been like half a decade ahead of them. Origin, who cares? You want to pay a subscription service for 3 games a year? Be my guest, but that's really what it's offering. The Star Wars stuff, astoundingly weak. I was really caught off guard, like breathlessly caught off guard by how weak the showing was on the Star Wars stuff. I think the name was Star Wars Fallen Jedi or something like that. I referred to it on Twitter as Star Wars Jedi Bowel Movement, because they didn't even have like art. They didn't have remember when they announced Kingdom Hearts 3 and they just sort of had Mickey and the logo and everybody cheered because at least it was something to look at? They didn't even have that. Like, what the heck? I know that they put the brakes on the Visceral Games property, but why even have it there if you're not far along enough to show anything? Not a single porg? Not one porg? You couldn't show a porg? Like, no visuals? This is video games, not, a Toastmasters conference. Just, why are you talking? Show us stuff. And that sitting in the audience stuff is just so tired. You do that with trained performers who have a certain amount of charisma. Game developers are not expected to have that. But oh my God, the Yarny guy was so cute again. There is no way not to love those guys. And that, I think, was definitely the highlight of the EA presentation. I'm ending on an up. That the indie game, the partnership thing that EA does is always my favorite thing. At first I thought, oh my God, they're even making Yarny sad with that. Because I went, yay, Yarny! Wait, did he just drown? But they showed the game and it looked really adorable. It has more of a Little Big Planet vibe than the last one did. And even then I kind of liked the way it was. It's different. And yes, it's a platformer, but unlike Anthem, there are some neat little yarn mechanics in it. It isn't just another platformer. It has some thought went into it, the way you swing with the yarn and turn it into little trampolines and all that stuff. And it's a new idea. It's a new idea. And that's what I watch these pressers for at E3, is for those new ideas, because games like Battlefield sell themselves. Now, the Battlefront Apology Tour was quite interesting. You notice how many times the game said, no loot boxes, you don't have to pay. Boy, they've been spanked. But when your highlight is Ewoks, and I love Ewoks, but I know I'm in the minority with that. So when your highlight of your presentation is Ewoks, although I think General Grievous being involved in the game was a bit more exciting, but that was pretty much it. They're tying their expansion to the solo stuff that the movie didn't do well by Star Wars standards. There's a bit of a stink on it. And Kessel, while I like that sequence in the movie, didn't look all that different from other Star Wars places. So unless it's going to be like down in those mines, which might be interesting, I'm not quite sure why Kessel is a significantly different map than, say, Tatooine. Maybe the verticality from the mining site, I don't know. But it was but as kind of tanky as everything else was, that indie game segment, that's what the whole thing should have been. Just developers coming out and talking about their games, and it being charmingly imperfect and a little bit rambly and slow in a good way, because you really got the sense they cared. You know, that Sea of Solitude presentation, it wasn't the best presentation, but you could tell that developer cared very, very much about her concept. They probably should have run the trailer first and let her talk second, like see what it is and then explain what it is. I don't think she needed to explain it. I think it sort of got the idea, but I'm looking forward to that game. She didn't explain it terribly well, but that's okay. She did her job in that she made me care about the journey and about the studio. And then we got to see, you know, a sample of the game that looked pretty neat. I'm interested in that. Like that is probably the most those two games were probably the most girl-friendly properties in the whole thing, other than like, you know, Star Wars stuff that have a very wide audience. But the fact that those two smaller studios, and I've never heard of Jomei Games before, and the people who make Unravel are a pretty small Scandinavian studio as well. I'm sure they've grown from when they unveiled Unravel, but still, nice shout out to A Way Out. That was exciting as well. But that part where you had a meaningful emotional connection to the developer story, and then gameplay. Like, not so much in Sea of Solitude, because that game's probably not ready yet, but they actually played Unravel 2. You actually got the sense of how it played as a game. It wasn't like a commercial for a movie. That's what everything used to be at E3, and more and more and more, we don't have that. It was always, here's 5 minutes of gameplay, here's 10 minutes of gameplay, here's 15 minutes of gameplay. It was gameplay. And more, these big publishers keep making excuses to not do that. And to me, that is unacceptable. You are selling games. You need to show the game. You can't just market it like a movie, because if you go to see a movie based on a trailer and it sucks, you've wasted $12. It's $12 up here. I don't know what it is elsewhere. But if you play a game and it sucks, you've wasted up here, it's $80 AAA. Even if it's one of those $40 games like Hellblade, which is wonderful, it's a lot more of an expensive risk than a movie is. So you have to show gameplay. It's like test driving a car. There are people who disagree with me on this, I know, but I feel very strongly. These are games. Show me gameplay. If you don't show me gameplay, I can't judge it. And I mean, even when you got the even you get teeny tiny bits, you can still sort of see how polished is this? How on fire does it seem? Is this an experience I want to get involved with, or do I feel bored even watching it? Is this something that makes me, when I'm really excited about something, I have invisible controller in my hands, like my trigger fingers and my thumbs twitch because I want to play. I didn't get that reaction to anything. Now that's because Unravel is chill. I probably will buy that one. And I guess at the end of the day, they sold me on a couple games. And that's all I guess they really have to do. But wow, their big IP for the year. First of all, they immediately put me off with that really cheesy augmented reality thing. But yeah, I went in with very low expectations for Anthem, but those weren't even met. And I went in with very low expectations for the Star Wars stuff, and those weren't even met. I won't say EA's in trouble because they're going to keep making buckets and buckets of money off of their sports games, and even Battlefield. For all the grousing, people will buy that game because they want to play Battlefield with their friends. But other than that, yikes, it just felt soulless. It just felt soulless, except for those two neat little games. And I get they have to make money, but why bother doing these big expensive events when that's all they want to do? Make money. So just be like Activision and show your big games at Xbox and like PlayStation. It may be it's too competitive, but it just seems like a really expensive exercise without very much to show, and that's what's left me kind of confused. You don't need all those celebrity guests. You could do like Nintendo Direct and just stream. Those Nintendo Direct things break the internet every time they run. They work. I was like, what at first? But it was a smart move for them. It's a lot cheaper. They have control over the production, and they don't have to rent a big hall and marshal everyone in and have the buses and everything like that. It's just, nope, right to the internet. Bloop, direct to the fans. Makes sense. So that's my wrap up of EA on a special Saturday. I don't normally record and upload on Saturdays, but it's E3. Do you guys want to live stream like the Microsoft and Sony pressers and then the PC game show? Let me know. I don't know how well it would work, but we could kind of watch along together and be in YouTube chat. Because my reactions to this EA one, I admit, were pretty... I could not control myself. I was like... was pretty much me. Okay, thanks for watching.